Hey everyone, this is Jerry Doherty from fitnessandhealthfromhome.com, and I'm here today to share a recipe for my chocolate Shakeology oatmeal bars. These are a no-bake bar that you can use. Oh, there goes the bird. Of course, why not? She wants to get in on the action too. There she is. She's over there. See, there she is. She lives up there in that corner. Anyway, so, I wanted to share with you just a quick recipe that I really enjoy with a nice cup of coffee before I do my P90X in the morning. Got lots of complex carbs in it and awesome nutrition of Shakeology. So the ingredients essentially are Shakeology, of course, main ingredient. I'm using just a chocolate whey formula, the super formula. Of course, oatmeal, old-fashioned Quaker oats. Those are the two basic components. I also use another dry ingredient. I kick it up a little bit with a little dark chocolate, Hershey's Cocoa dark chocolate, a little ground cinnamon. The wet ingredients are agave nectar, vanilla, coconut milk, and I gotta grab my almond milk out of the fridge because that needs to go in there as well. And today I have the unsweetened almond breeze. This is a vanilla, but I usually use the normal, but it'll still work. And as far as utensils that you'll need a big mixing bowl with a spoon. You'll need a cup and a 1/3 of a cup container, and a teaspoon and a half a teaspoon, I think is what I use out of these. And then for the wet ingredients, you need some sort of a bowl, and then you'll press everything down into an 8x8 metal pan. And at the end, we'll use some wax paper to smooth out the top of that so it can cool down. And I'm going to try to put this video up on the counter here now and see if it will behave itself so that we can actually watch me do this. Let's see if I can get this up there without it getting too messy for you guys. Hopefully I got that pointed in the right direction. And if not, we'll have to make this video again another time next week after I make some more. Okay, so I start right out with putting 4 cups of the Quaker oats into the big old bowl. And I actually use about 4 cups, but sometimes the ingredients are a little wetter, a little drier. I mean, Shakeology is a real food, and so the consistency and even the flavor of it can change a little bit because these real foods are coming from around the world. They're not, stored for a long period of time and then put together artificially. This is raw, real food. So what I do is I scoop out 4, but I actually only put about 3.5 to start. So I'm just going to put that half a cup of oatmeal to the side, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that later. And then we're done with these. So I can put these over here, get them out of the way. Next thing I like to add is my Shakeology. So that was 3.5 to 4 cups of raw old-fashioned oatmeal. I'm going to use 4 nice scoops, so 4 servings of chocolate Shakeology go right in there. And of course it's a nice level scoop. You could probably use vegan as well, and it'd be just fine. I haven't tried to do that yet, but maybe that's another video someday. I got some vegan right up there. It's really good stuff. It tastes a little bit different. It's got the brown rice protein in it instead of whey protein, but still really, really good. Alright, so I got my 4 scoops in there. Now I like to keep my Shakeology right in the fridge, just because it's a protein, so that helps it stay from getting rancid. Alright, so the next thing is another dry ingredient. So I use my Hershey's Cocoa. I like to use just 1 big old tablespoonful, so I guess I need a tablespoon in my mix of things that I need, so I'll just take 1 big tablespoonful and I just kind of tap that in there. Okay, throw that in the sink. Won't need that anymore. Put that aside, and then for the cinnamon, it's just a little extra different flavor. If you don't like cinnamon, you could just skip this whole part. But I'll use actually a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Doesn't have to be perfect, right? There you go. It's not like it's a science experiment or anything. Okay, no grade here. All right, and that's all the dry ingredients. And you can just kind of fold those together a little bit. And that's what it looks like. It's, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it just looks like oatmeal and chocolate Shakeology, really, when you're done. Okay, set that aside. Wet ingredients. Okay, I use the 1/3 cup to begin with, and I'll pour give my little almond milk a shake. 1/3 cup of almond milk. And 1/3 cup of light agave nectar. You could use dark if you wanted to as well. This is actually a brand new one. It might need to be opened up here. Yep, sure is. Take that out in post-production, I guess. Alright. Right? Brand new one. So 1/3 of a cup of agave nectar. Put that aside. What I like about agave, and what's really nice about this, is that agave is considered a low glycemic index sweetener. So that basically helps keep your blood level sugar, your blood sugar level even. There you go. And then 1/3 of a cup of coconut milk. Again, I've got regular coconut milk here. You could use light. For me, you know, there's a lot of saturated fat in coconut milk, and people go, "Oh, saturated fat, that's bad." But really, the reality is that the saturated fat in coconut milk is actually very bioavailable, and so it gives me a lot of good energy, so that I can push hard in my workout. All right, so there's 1/3 cup of that. It's a little bit gooey, and make it rich, and that's all I need that 1/3 of a cup for. So I have about 1 full cup of ingredients there. And then I am going to use 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. I use the best vanilla I can find. It's Madagascar organic vanilla. So, you know, I don't use a whole lot of vanilla, and I figured might as well use the best. There you go. So, that's it for the wet ingredients as well. I've done a lot of different things. Like I used to put peanut butter in this as well, but you know, I get enough peanut butter in my normal Shakeology, and it makes the bars even stickier than they already are. That's one thing about these bars, is that they're somewhat sticky. So I'll use that spoon again. You can always use a spoon for everything, right? So I got one, and now all I simply do is I just take that whole 1 cup plus of stuff and just dump it right in. Make sure I get pretty much all of it in there, and you think, wow, that's never going to mix in, but surprisingly it really does. So you start and you think it's never going to mix, but if you keep mixing, get your big old spoon in there, mix and press it down, all that dryness begins to get sucked up in that moisture, and what you end up with is this batter that you kind of start to look at and decide whether or not just how wet it is. So it still looks sort of dry. You keep pushing, and all of a sudden you start to say, oh, wait a second, it looks really, really wet now. You're going to get one big ball of mix there. That's why I need a big spoon, a salad spoon. Because you really got to kind of drive this stuff down drive it all together. This is part of the workout all by itself. Get a good forearm workout doing this kind of stuff. Alright, so I just got a call, I think. Hopefully that didn't mess up my video. Should have probably turned off my thing. You know what? I put aside that 1/2 cup, and I'm kind of glad I did, because again, this is just about the perfect consistency. What you don't want is you don't want the batter, once you get it all mixed up, see what it looks like right there. I don't know if you can see it or not, but you don't want it to be wet on the surface. And this looks somewhat dry, but it's still a nice ball. And that's really what we want. We want it all mixed and incorporated. And now, all all I do with this is I scoop this whole thing out and I put it in the pan. Now the pan is dry. Okay, so completely dry pan. Not putting any Pam or anything like that in this pan. Okay. Alright. Go right there away. And this gets just pressed right down into the pan. It makes a bar that's about, I'd say maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. Half to 3/4 of an inch, 5/8, I don't know. I just press it down on the pan. I'm never going to get that out of there, but surprisingly, it does come out pretty good. Once it cools down, you kind of have to scrape it out a little bit, and I'll show you that in another video when we take these out. So I use a spoon to kind of press it down into the pan, and then just to kind of even out the surface, and so the surface itself doesn't get really dry. These have to stay in the fridge for about 3 hours before they're good and cooled down and ready to go. So I use just a piece of wax paper, put that down on top, and then just smooth it out. If you wanted to go to the trouble, you can kind of make sure the batter is sort of even. Now I've done a lot of different things with these. I've made them sweeter by putting dried cherries in there. I've mixed in raisins. I've used walnuts before on top, as well as just kind of mixing them all in the mix. And you can do whatever you want to do. It's really up to you what your taste buds want, as well as what your nutritional needs are. For me, I kind of felt like all those added extra things were just adding calories that I didn't necessarily need for this particular pre-workout meal. Alright, so I got it nice and smooth, and that way when I get the bar up, you can see I've just kind of smoothed that whole thing down on top of there, and then I'm just going to put it in the fridge, and we'll come back in 3 hours and take another little video shot and see what it looks like.